Namaste. I just wanted to say, please don't play the blame game. I think it's very, very dangerous and just not helping anybody to play the blame game with everything in life, but especially as this saga continues, the C virus saga. It seems to me like there's a lot of people kind of starting to point fingers at each other, and like now some things are opening up. People are like, oh well, it's their fault, the ones that went to the pubs or the ones that went on holiday, and it's their fault if we get another wave or whatever. But I really just don't think that's helpful to anybody, because from the beginning they did say the whole point was to try and stop the hospitals being overwhelmed. They always knew they couldn't really stop people getting it. They were just trying to control it to a degree. So everybody was going to have to, things were going to have to open at some point, weren't they? So obviously as things do open, it is quite likely that some people may come into contact with things, whatever viruses they may be. I'm sure there's many viruses going around, because obviously when people stay inside, the problem is that their immune system then is not actually being strengthened, because that's what doctors have come out and said as well. There's actually pros and cons to being in isolation. Normally they would only put someone in isolation when they were very, very high risk, and then when that person then starts to venture out into the world, they are much more likely to get ill, because they're going to come into contact with germs which they haven't been in contact with. So it applies to all viruses. For an example, my cousin, he has been on kidney dialysis for 2 years, over 2 years I think now. He's waiting for a transplant, so obviously he's very vulnerable. Also, he is diabetic, type 1, has been since he was about 10. He nearly died when he was about 10, because he went into a coma and everything. They didn't know what it was. So he's nearly died several times. Also, he's had a toe amputated, he's had loads of health issues. But amazingly, he's okay so far. But I think if he was to pick up any virus, be it this one or any virus, and die, I don't think anyone in the family or he himself would blame anybody. It's something that actually, in a way, we're kind of amazed that he's still here. It's something that was told from the beginning. There's a high risk of infection. There's a high risk. The more he's on these tubes, the longer he's on this machinery. And if he has the operation, that's also a high risk. So there's many risks involved. But I don't think he would want everyone in his family to just not have a life. And they are all being more cautious, because they live together as quite a big family. But like I say, if he was to pick something up, I don't think anybody would be pointing the finger at that person, or you went to the shops, or you went over to that place and it must be your fault. That's not helpful. It's not going to solve any problems, and it's very destructive. So this blame game, like we had it with Brexit as well. The media seems to be always kind of trying to get people to divide. It's part of the divide kind of tactics that have been going on for a long time. And I just really wish that people could see through that and realise that that is just not helping anybody. People make their own choices about how they want to live their lives, and blaming people for the way they're living their life is not fair. It's just not fair. As soon as a virus is out there, it's, chances are it is going to spread pretty much everywhere in the end. I think the best thing everyone can do is just to build up their immune systems as much as possible, have a lot of vitamins, and get vitamin D from the sun when you can. And try and stay calm, because actually that's the best thing for your immune system. Being in fear is the worst thing for your immune system. So these are things to remember, and being stressed or making someone else feel guilty is really, not beneficial at all. And it makes me sad to see that some people are starting to buy into all of this and, say, it's their fault and whatever. And I think actually, it was inevitable in one way or another. And like I say, it's a bit of a saga, it's a bit of a story. And perhaps some might say the script was already written.